Hello and welcome back to Tindalos Gaming, and welcome to episode 4 of my Fear of the Dark campaign, where I'm playing through the Sons of the New Moon campaign. It's a new campaign brought out from the guys over at Fear the Dark, and it's a sort of has a choose your own adventure element to it. But hopefully those that are watching episode 4, you watched the previous 3 episodes where you've seen Rowena Linton and her motley crew of investigators take on the Sons of the New Moon. In the last episode, we had to explore a farm, which we did successfully, and then we ended up finding a sort of bit of a pathway and hearing some noises, and that's where we sort of left our hardy investigators. They're looking for Henry Towers. Haven't found him quite yet, but we're sort of seem to be getting a bit closer to that now. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it. We've had a couple of casualties along the way, but that's not unexpected with my dice rolling. But we've managed to pick up an ally in the name of Vince. He's looking for his brother. Haven't found him yet either, so Vince has joined us. And so let's see where we get to. So I'm going to cut across to the campaign book, because as I said, there's elements of where we need to sort of choose different paths, potential paths, etc. But gives you a lot of replayability, I think, within the game. So yeah, let's get across to the overhead camera and see whereabouts we're at. So here we are. It's my spoiler blocker as well, because it has got potentially another scene on it. So I've just put that there, and this is where we finished off last time by the scene ending. So it says, once the scene is over, we return to the numbered entries. If they've managed to survive, then go to 32, which we have. So we're going to go to section 32, if I can find that. And here we are, 32. So I'll read that. After locating the path into the depths of the forest and hearing what sounds like a shout coming from within the dense grove, the characters decide to go this path into the forest. The path through the forest becomes difficult. In the middle of the night, with hardly any light from the moon, as it is hidden by the treetops, and not wanting to turn on their torches to avoid being detected by any of the villagers, the investigators advance in the darkness. Sometimes a branch scratches their face or causes them to stumble, falling heavily to the ground, always fearful of making a noise and attracting the attention of any person that could be in the woods. Choose a character at random and make a dex roll with them. Okay, so we've got our characters here. We've got Rowena, we've got Vince, we've got Everett, and we've got Grace. What I'm going to do is I'm going to roll a d6. 5 to 6 will ignore. Rowena's 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's see what we get. We get a 4, which is Grace Carson. If they fail, the character falls by tripping over a branch, twisting their foot. So for the rest of the game, they will have a -2 restriction on movement. If he or she were moving 5 inches for each move action, he will now move 3. If the dex roll is successful, then they're not. So we need to make a dex roll, and I need a d10. Just grab d10. There we go. She's got a dexterity of 4, so she needs 4 or less to pass the test, and she gets an 8. So she's failed the dexterity test. So she's going to get a -2 movement. I'll write down her card in a second, so I'll remember it during the game because I know what I'm like. Okay, so that's cool. Take these away. I'll leave those there actually because they're blocking one of the other scenes. So, right, here we go. After advancing through the darkness with considerable difficulty, you seem to hear noises in the distance that sound like people chanting. In the middle of the night and protected by darkness, they manage to get close to what seems to be a clearing in the forest. where there is a tall, large stone to which is tied a human figure they recognise as Henry Towers. The writer is standing, tied by both hands with two ropes holding him with his back against a stone, as if in some sort of crucifixion. On the floor they see a man lying on his side motionless, and beneath him a pool of bloodstains, his clothes red. If Vince is with the characters, they see him cover his mouth and stifle a scream, "Tommy!" He manages to mumble before bursting into silent tears. Vince falls to his knees on the ground, clutching his head, repeatedly pounding his fists on the ground. In the forest clearing, they can see several people in black robes standing with their hands raised to the night sky as they chant a continuous, monotonous litany in an unknown language. In the sky, they can see there is no moon, though when before there was a crescent moon in the middle of the firmament, which chills them, and they can see a huge circle of black darkness growing in size, or approaching. They can hear the wind whipping through the treetops, and a distant murmur becomes more audible, resembling what might be out-of-tune violins playing a hellish song. Gradually the cultists, instead of singing, shout their litany, drowned out by the noise of the violins that grows in intensity, deafening the scene, the trees shaking in an impressive way, and Henry Towers, knowing the fate that awaits him, screams as madness appears in his wild eyes. The new moon, a whirlwind of thick darkness, whirls at high speed as tiny sparks jumping out, resembling hundreds of blinking eyes as it grows larger and larger, covering the clearing left by the treetops. The sound of tuneless violins is deafening. At that moment, the investigators, witnessing such a Dante-esque scene, decide to act quickly to save their friends and their lives and their souls. To continue, go to scene 3. Okay, well, I'm going to pause there. I'm going to get set up for scene 3. I'm going to come back. It'll be a quick swipe for you. Probably a couple of hours of me prevaricating and finding various bits of scenery. I'll come back and hopefully the scene will be set. I'll see you in 2 secs. Okay, right, we are now over at the table and we are all set up. Well, we've still got a little bit to do, but I wanted to get this on camera. So I'm going to read through what it says for scene 4, the ritual. It says we'll set up a 90 centimetre by 90 centimetre table, which we have done, which is what we've done here. We will put trees on the edges, delimiting a clearing in the forest. Well, my edges are these fences and walls. The table actually is 90 centimetres wide anyway, so that's good. In the centre of the clearing, we'll place a large stone, which is this thing here. We will to which Henry Towers will be tied. So that's Henry just here. Next to the stone, we'll place a cultist armed with a knife, which is the dude with the skull, ram skull mask on him. We will place 5 more cultists in the clearing randomly as detailed on page 64 of the manual. Going to do that in a second, do that as one of my last things, and then we'll get it all set up. I'll come back to that in a minute. Each cultist will be armed with a large knife, and each will run towards the nearest character to get into melee and attempt to stab him to death. The character will deploy on one side of the table, all of them together, and at 2 inches from the table. So we're going to deploy over this side here in a second. On the first turn of play, before drawing any act cards for the activation deck, each character will make a sanity check with to the intelligence characteristic, making it more difficult to have a successful roll. See the new moon appearing in the forest takes a toll on them. Again, we'll do that in a second when we get to the first turn. If any of the characters have the black start pendant with them, which they don't, that character automatically passes the sanity check, suffering no negative effects, as if the character was protected by darkness. Vince's character will be overcome with rage and a desire for revenge, so he will have a +1 bonus to all his combat checks, melee and ranged, but will always use at least one move action to move towards the nearest enemy and will never move away from any enemy, not even to avoid melee. With each turn that passes, the new moon will get closer, and when it reaches turn 5, it will have reached a forest clearing. So the investigators have to be aware of that countdown, which we will keep a track of to successfully carry out the scene. The characters must save Henry Towers, for which at least one investigator must be next to him, spend an action to cut the ropes that bind his hands, and flee as many characters as possible, including Henry, down either side of the table, disappearing into the darkness. So I'm going to assume that the side of the table is this side or this side, not backwards and forwards. So I'm going to go that way or that way. If that makes sense. The new moon will arrive in the clearing on turn 5, and the only way to stop it is to cast the close the door part of the ritual if they know that part of the ritual. They don't. I don't recall them learning that. I may well have made a mistake, but I don't well recall them learning it, so I won't read that bit. It says if they have not been aware of this ritual, their only option is to save Henry Towers in the first 4 turns and flee the table on one side before turn 5. At which point the new moon will have inevitably reached the clearing, and any characters on the table will be devoured by this creature. So there are 6 characteristics. There are 6 cultists, and they all have the same characteristics. Let's bring those up. In the spirit of recycling, I've used a card that I used previously, just crossed out the stuff that I put on there. So the cultists are Strength 3, Dexterity 4, Intelligence 5. They've got a melee combat of 5. They've got a ranged combat of 4, and they've got 1 life point. And the large knife does 1d10 plus 1 to melee combat. Okay, so that's the cultists. Just as a reminder, we've got Rowena, who has got Strength 5, Dexterity 7, Intelligence 7, melee of 5, range of 5, Scholar of the Arcane. She's got Clever, she's plus 1 Intelligence, and she's got a pistol. Then we have Vince, who's our ally, who's going a bit mad at the minute, but he's Strength 5, Dexterity 4, Intelligence 5, melee 5, ranged 5, and he's got a shotgun. Then we've got Everett, who is Strength 4, Dexterity 4, Intelligence 3, melee 6, range of 3, and he's got a big knife. And then finally we've got Grace Carson, who's a Strength 4, Dexterity 4, Intelligence of 3, melee of 3, range of 6, and she's armed with a pistol. So there we go. There are our characters and what we're coming up against. So let's just turn that one off and that one off. We've got our character, we've got our cards here, we've got our we've got our players. We've got 4 cards for the players, and then we've got 5 cards for the enemy. Chuck those in. Then we've got our random cards. I'll turn those over, give them a shuffle, and then one of these is going to go into there like that for our deck. And then we'll take these and we'll give them a shuffle. Look at that. Give these a good old shuffle. And there is our deck of player cards, or our deck activation deck. We've got our dice here or by my side so I can know what turn we're on, because I need to worry about turn 5. Then the last thing we need to do before we actually start turn 1 is work out randomly where the cultists are kind of come on. Obviously we've got the one cultist here who's by the side of Henry, who's got him tied up against a stone, and then we're going to put the random thing in order to determine where they go. So we're going to go left to right, and we're going to roll randomly on the table, and then I'll put them where they're supposed to be. So let's just have a look at the dice tray so you can see what I'm doing. 90 by 90, so first one on the left hand side, he's going to go at at 26. Second one is going to go at 72. Third one is going to go at 88. Fourth one is going to go at 71. Okay, got a bit of a bunch up here. And then the last one is going to go at 46. Okay, give me 2 seconds. I'm going to just do that on the board, and then we'll come back to the overhead camera so we can see what we've got. Also, just before I close this bit out, we've got some different camera angles. We've got the left hand side of the board where we can see. We've got the right hand side of the board as well. Hopefully we can move cameras about, but hopefully we'll be able to pick up most of the action from those cameras. And obviously we've got the overhead camera as well. Right, so I've got 5 random guys to put down. I'm going to do that now and I'll come back in a sec. Okay, right, we have placed our cultists using the random generator, which I really like. It's a really good mechanic. So we've got a cultist that's ended up here. We've got a cultist that's ended up here. We've got a cultist that's ended up here. I'm deployed back here. You can just see my hand. This is where my the troops are deployed, or my crew, should I say, the investigators. And then that's 4 of them. And then we've got a couple of cultists right at the back there that are coming on the sort of reinforcements. So first thing we need to do is put some danger and opportunity tokens on them. Now these 3 at the front here, I would say are in danger because obviously my crew have got guns, got shotguns, have got pistols. So danger token on this one because he could potentially get shot. Got danger token on this one because he could potentially get shot. And then a danger token on this one because he could potentially get shot. And then we've got opportunity tokens for this cultist here. And then the 2 cultists at the back are going to get an opportunity token as well. So 1 here and 1 here. Okay, right, I think we are ready. I've got my 2 hero points, put those to one side so I know that I've got them. Put those right in front of me so I don't forget. Got my cards ready to go. So let's start with turn 1. We've got my dice marker to mark which turn I am. Yeah, I think it's time for Rowena, Everett, Vince and Grace to do the best they can to rescue Henry Towers. Wish me luck. May the dice... Okay, we're now ready for turn 1. So I've got my turn dice. We're on turn 1, we know that. I've got to keep a track of that. So let's get the activation deck and see what we get. We're going to get Player's Warband. So I get to choose which character to activate. Get across to the overhead camera, so what we've got to do. So we've got some, obviously our characters are down here. We've got to deal with this cultist here. We've got to deal with this cultist here, and we've got to deal with this cultist over here. They're the 3 priorities really for this turn. Obviously we need to get into the middle to try and save Henry as quickly as possible and get off. We've got a couple of cultists over in the corner there, which we know about up in the top, but they're not really doing anything at the minute. These have got danger tokens on them because they're near players, and the other 3 towards the back end have got opportunity tokens on them, so we don't need to worry about those too much at the minute. So I think I'm going to activate Grace first of all, Grace Carson. She's got a -2 move, so she's just going to move the 3 towards the cultist. She's got a 12-inch range of her pistol. She is at 6 inches, so that's good. So she's got a shoot or a ranged combat of 6. So let's see what she gets. Come on, Grace. Start this game off as we mean to go on. She's going to get. she gets a 10, which is not a hit. So that's her done. So that's really literally going to be how this game goes. We'll put an activated token by her so we know she's activated. We'll go back to the deck and see what we get. Take that out and we're going to get an enemy's warband. An enemy warband. Okay. So let's just have a quick check so we know what we're doing. So activation order for an enemy, if they've got 2 tokens on them, they go first. Second, those have got an opportunity token on them. Okay, so this guy here has got an opportunity token on him. And so have the 3 over towards the back. So these 2 over here have got opportunity tokens on them as well. So let's choose one of those. Let's have a look. Just want to make sure. Okay, let's start off with the cultist back towards the right far end. The flow chart tells us what to do. So we've got a melee weapon. The flow chart, is the enemy on melee range? No. Move towards the closest enemy using the first action. So he's going to move 5. Closest enemy is going to be Grace, so he's going to move 5 to there. They're still not any closer, so he's going to move 5 again to there. And that's the enemy activated. So we'll put an activated token by him. We'll go back to the dice, or sorry, back to the activation deck, and we're going to get an enemy warband. Okay. Similar thing. We're going to choose the other cultist, who's going to move 5 to there, which is first action. Nobody's in melee range. So he's going to move 5 again to there. We'll take his token off him. We'll put an activated token by him so we know he's activated. It's got real quite quickly. We'll go back to the activation deck, see what we get. Motivated. The next character that activates will have an extra action this turn. That's handy. Hopefully. So we'll draw another card. Player's Warband. Player's Warband. Okay, right, now this is interesting. So Vince, I'm thinking about activating. With his shotgun. Yeah, let's activate Vince. Vince is he's got to move towards the nearest enemy first of all as part of his Tommy issue. So his first action is going to be to move to there. Is he within 5? No, he's not within 5. With his second action, he is going to shoot his ranged at this cultist, his shotgun. So let's see what he gets. Now, Vince has got a range of 5. Nothing other than that. A range of 5. So let's see what he gets. Come on. Come on, Vince. 5 or less. He gets a 2. he gets a 2. Hang on a second, let me just check something. So it says when a character attacks another with a ranged weapon, he'll make a roll in his ranged weapon characteristics applying all given modifiers. If the die roll is successful, he'll make a roll on the injury table. So his injury, his shotgun is D10 plus 1. So let's see what he gets. D10 plus 1. It's not in cover. It's not close range. He's not larger than a human. Plus 1. Oh, he gets a crit. He gets a crit. And a crit. It's 2 wounds. I'm just double checking that. Yeah, 2 life points. That is that cultist dead. They've only got 1 life point. And for his third action, he is going to shoot at this cultist. Yeah, because he gets an extra action this turn. So let's see if he can. He's shot once. Doesn't need to do it. He's got two bullets in his shotgun. In my head, I'm just turning it through. So he's going to shoot at this cultist here. He needs a 5 or less again. Let's see what he gets. Come on, Vince. He's not happy about Tommy. Ah, he missed. He missed with a 3. So that is. That's Tommy activated. We'll put an activated token by him. He's done his three moves. That was all right. We cleared a little bit of a path towards Henry, and then we're going to go across to the activation deck again and see what we get. We are going to get an enemy warband. And it's going to be this. Oh, sorry. It's going to be this one, who's going to move towards the nearest enemy, which is going to be Vince. He's obviously just seen his mate being taken out, so he's going to move 5 to there, and then he's going to move 5 to there. He's coming for Tommy, and that is that enemy activated, leaving a bit of a clear path for Henry. This could go badly wrong, but let's see what we get. So that's that enemy done. We're going to go across to the dice tray camera to see what we get next, and we're going to get an enemy warband. So we've got a choice really of 2 left. This one over here or this one over here. I'm going to go with this one over here towards Grace. So the flowchart says, is it in melee range? It's not, so it's going to move its 5. Which is going to take it just shy because she was 6 inches away. And then it's still not in melee range because it's not base to base. So it's then going to move into base contact with Grace. And that's it activated. Put an activated token by it. Then we're going to go across back to the dice tray cam to see what we get next. And we are going to get Player's Warband. Right, I think it's time for Rowena to do what Rowena does. She's got 3 actions as a hero, and she is going to... Well, sorry, get the right camera on. These 2 have activated. I haven't got a lot of time to think about this. I've got 4 turns effectively to get Henry and get him off, so I can't muck around. So Rowena is going to use all 3 of her actions, well, 2 actions take her to there, 5 inches, and then another 5 will put her in base to base with Henry. She's activated. That's pretty cool. That is all of her actions, but as I've said, my priority is to get Rowena and Henry off. But she's going to use one of her actions next turn to sort of untime. Hopefully, we can get the dice rolls and the draw of the activation deck right. Okay, let's see what we've got next. Let's go back to the thing, and we're going to get enemy warband, which is this remaining enemy over here. He's going to move his 5 inches. I'll just move his tree out of the way for a second. He's going to move his 5 inches to there, and then 5 inches is going to take him into base contact with Vince, poor old Vince. He's going to get an activated token. And then finally, should be a player's warband, which should be our man Everett. Player's warband, player's warband. There we go. Then Everett is going to make a 5-inch move, which puts him in base-to-base contact with that cultist. And then he's going to use his big knife. You can see Everett's card there. He's got a melee of 6, so we're going to need 2 dice this time because we're fighting with the cultist. The cultist has got a melee of 5. So we'll use the red dice, the full red dice for Everett, and we'll use the sort of mottled dice for the cultist. Let's see what they get. Okay. Okay, so they both hit. They both hit. We need to do this bit by bit. Just get this out in a second. The big knife has it's +1 to his melee, which is still fine anyway, but it's done a D10. So they've both hit, and the cultist has got a critical hit. Let's just check that. A 1 on ranged on melee. Yeah, so when a character attacks another and when making a die roll in the corresponding combat skill, he rolls a natural 1. He gets +2 on the injury roll. He'll roll D10 plus an injury. So let's roll Everett first of all. Let's see what he gets. He gets nothing. 2 is they take no damage at all. And the cultist gets 5 + 2 is 7. That's 1 life point off of Everett, which is enough to kill him, unfortunately. Everett is taken out. He only has 1 life. Oh dear, it was going well. It was going well. I was hoping that Everett was going to take the cultist out there, but hey ho, that is it. So we'll tidy up, we'll come back and we'll have turn 2. Okay, we've tidied up the table, changed our turn dice to turn 2, given a danger token to this cultist here because he's in combat. Same here with this one in combat, and then opportunity tokens to this one here, and this one here. We've redone our activation deck. We've put a random bonus card in there as well. So we're on to turn 2, and let's see what we get. We'll shuffle up the activation deck and move across to the dice tray to see what we get, and we're going to get Player's Warband. Player's Warband. That is very handy. That is very handy. Now we're going to use Rowena first of all. Let's just make sure. I want to just check. Is it an action? Just double check. Just checking the scene at the moment. Oh yeah, forgot about that. Vince gets +1 to his combat. Melee or range, but it didn't matter because he shot, he wouldn't have got it anyway. Where is it? Yeah, spend an action on the rope that binds his hands as they flee. Just wanted to double check that one. So Rowena's going to, I'm going to activate Rowena, who's going to spend her first action to untie Henry. And then her 2 other actions is going to be to peg it out of there, away from the cultists. So she's going to move 10 inches effectively, taking Henry with her. So she's going to go over to here. Henry's going to go with her. So that is Rowena done and activated. That's pretty good, actually. I'm happy with that. Rowena's managed to get away, quite far away from the cultists. That does leave poor old Vince and Grace in a bit of a pickle, but you know, for the greater good and all that. So let's go across to the dice tray camera and see what we get next. We are going to get Enemy's Warband. Enemy's Warband. So it's going to be, let's have a quick look, just double check. So it's a character with an opportunity token first of all. So to be fair to the game, we're going to activate this cultist here. We're going to check the melee flowchart, which means he's going to make 1 move to get into melee. Here we go. Is the enemy on melee ranged weapon? No, that's not within range. So he's going to move once, 1 action there. And then he's going to be in combat, but he's going to be outnumbered as well now. So let's just check the outnumbered rules. Melee combat. There is a section on being outnumbered. Yeah, so going to be adding +1 to each melee combat test to each of the enemy characters. So let's bring these up. We've got the cultist and then we've got Vince. So Vince is a melee of 5. He can't use his shotgun in melee because it's a 2-handed weapon. So he's going to use his fight. But he does get +1 to that because of the scenario. So he's at 6. And the cultist is at 6 as well. +1 for both of them. So this is going to be interesting. Go across to the dice tray. Again, this one's going to be the cultist, this one's going to be Vince. So they're both needing 6 or less. see what they get. Well, the cultist missed with a 7, but Vince does hit with a 4. There's no massive difference there, so we don't need to worry about that. So it's usually a difference of 5 or more. There'll be an issue, but he hasn't. But we're going to roll on the injury table for Vince. Let's see if he can do it. Gets a 3. Gets a 3. So he is going to push him back. Doesn't do any damage, but he does push him back an inch to there. I think that's how it does. Yeah, Vince is not going to move, but he is going to push that one back. So there's a multiple combat going on there. Hopefully, we won't. That'll be a bit of a bonus for him next time round. Okay, so that is that cultist activated. We'll put an activated token on there, and then we'll go back to the dice tray to see who activates next. And we are going to get enemy warband. So it has to be in one of these two over here. One of these two over here. Who's closer? I think Grace is going to be closer. So she's 30 away. Vince is more than 30 away. So this cultist is going to go 5, 10. And that's that cultist activated. Okay. We'll go across to the dice tray to see what's next. And we are going to get Still Waters. This turn nothing happens and everything is quiet. Okay, fair enough. And then we're going to go draw again and we're going to get Player's Warband. Player's Warband. Now I think Grace needs to do something here to stop herself from being overwhelmed. So she is going to fight with her pistol, and she is going to use a hero point at this point, which gives her +2. And we'll just double check it's just +2 to the actual stat, I think, and not any damage on the hero points. Page 12. That's the beauty about these rules. They're not. It's not complicated. The rule book's very well laid out. I tend to use paper versions. People obviously use some PDFs. +3 to a dice roll. +3 to a dice roll. Now, do we save the hero point and roll naturally because she's at 6? The cultist is going to be rolling 5. Let's just bring these up so you can see them. So she's a 6. And the cultist is 5. If I do the +3 now, it takes her to 9, which means she's probably definitely going to hit. It's killing them. That's the thing I'm thinking about. It's killing them. I need to kill it. So I might save the hero point for the roll on the injury table. It doesn't say you can't. It's a skill test. I'm thinking that the rolling on the injury chart is not a skill test. The skill test is not. So I'm going to use the hero point, talk myself into it, to take her to a 9 versus 5. A 9 versus 5. Again, standard Red one's going to be Grace, this one's going to be the cultist. So 9 versus 5. So, God almighty, seriously. Right, so Grace misses with a 10 and the cultist hits with a 4. So let's roll on the injury table for Grace. Gets a 1, which is nothing. Okay, that's fine. So that's the first activation, is to try and hit him. Second activation, we're just going to go standard. 6 versus 5. Come on. 9 and a 4. So Grace misses. Oh, that could be nasty. Let me just again check. There is a difference. Yeah, if the difference is 5 or more, which it is, for the cultist, they get +2 to the roll when checking to inflict wounds. So the cultist has got a difference of 5. 4 versus 9 is 5, so a +2 on the roll. So let's see what the cultist gets against Grace. A 4 goes to a 6, that's 1 wound. That is enough, unfortunately, to kill Grace. Poor old Grace is out of this scenario. Okay. Poor old Grace is out of this scenario. And we've still got 1 hero point left. Okay. Go back to the activation deck and we are going to get an enemy warband. I've got an opportunity token here. Opportunity token here. So now this cultist is going to head. Who's closer? Let's just check. So Vince is 38 and no, Rowena's 42. So this cultist is going to head 10 inches directly towards Vince. And that's that. Opportunity token gone. That is that. I've activated. I'm sure he's activated as well. Sorry, I should have put an activate token by him. Okay. Back to the dice or the activation deck, and we are going to get enemy warband, which is going to be, let's do this one here. Let's do it against Vince. So let's take that danger token off. We'll put an activated token on him so we know we've done it. And he is going to try and so he is going to attack Vince for his first action. He's going to lose his second action because I don't get to fight twice. So let's see. Vince is strength 5 against cultist 5. I think I am going to play my last hero point at this point to take Vince up to melee of 8 versus 5. So let's see what he gets. Same dices. 8 versus 5. Oh my god. Oh dear, oh dear. Right, so Vince rolls a 10, which is a failure. The cultist rolls a 5, which is a hit, and there is a difference of 5 as well. So the cultist is going to get +2 on the injury table. He gets a 10, which is a critical hit, which means poor old Vince is dead. He gets 2 wounds as an ally, but the cultist rolled 8 +2 because of the difference of 5, takes him to 2 wounds. Vince is dead, or potentially dead. He's definitely out of the game. We've got the 1 cultist left over here. Everything else is activated, so this one is going to now start to peg it towards Rowena. So he's going to go 10. Everybody's after Rowena now, and he is activated. Done his 2 moves. No need to do the activation deck there because there's nobody else left. Okay, pretty brutal turn 2 for the investigators. Absolutely abysmal poor rolling from myself, but the bigger picture is that Rowena is a fair distance away from the cultists. I don't think anybody can get to her the next turn because of how far away she is. So we should be able to get Henry off. But anyway, let's tidy up the board. We'll put our tokens down, and then we'll get our activation deck sorted, and we will come back for turn 3. Okay, here we are, all set up for turn 3. We've cleared all of our activated markers. I've given 3 opportunity tokens because I get 3, because there's 5 cultists. You round it down and then up effectively. So it's 3 tokens. There's no danger tokens really to apply because nobody is in danger. So these 2 haven't got any tokens on them, but it doesn't really make too much difference. We've sorted out the activation deck. We've got Rowena off over in the corner there. She's our only investigator left, but she does have Henry Towers with her, so we're hoping that with a fair wind, she may well be able to get off the side of the board this turn. So let's see what we get from an activation point of view. We're going to draw our first card, and it's going to be Enemy Warband. So it'll be the nearest one. He's going to go both his moves 10 inches to there. That's his opportunity token done. We'll put an activated token on him so we know he's activated. We'll go back to the dice tray to see what we get. For the next activation, we are going to get Enemy Warband, which is not surprising considering there's 5 versus 1 in this. And then rinse and repeat for this cultist, who's going to go 10 inches towards Rowena. Let's just move that away for a sec. Activate token there, activate token there. I can go back. Take the opportunity token away. Back to the activation deck to see what we get, and we are going to get Enemy Warband. Oops. So this one's going to move his 10 inches. Boom to there. Activated token, opportunity token off. So we've got a bit of a chase going on. Back to the activation deck, and we are going to get Enemy Warband, and no danger ones, but he's going to go 10 inches. Sorry. This one's going to go, let's move that out of the way for a sec, 10 inches. Oh. fit through. He's activated. Good job none of these have got any ranged weapons, or else Rowena would be in trouble. Back to the dice tray, and we are going to get enemy warband. Off camera a little bit, this guy's going to try and chase after his mates. 10 inches to there, activated token. Back to the dice tray, and we are going to get player's warband. Rowena, he's going to move twice to get off and take Henry with her, which does secure it. Okay, well, I think that's it. As in for the table part of it, the gameplay part of it, because we've got Henry off. But what we do need to do now is go back to our campaign rulebook and work out some injuries, and also then find out exactly what's happened or what is going to happen now that Henry's managed to make an escape with Rowena. So tidy up the board a second, and I'll come back with a main shot of the rulebook and the campaign, and we will take it from there. I'll see you in 2 seconds. Well, for you it'll be 2 seconds. Again, for me it'll probably be about half an hour. It's insane. Okay, before we find out what's going to be happening in regards to this actual scenario, I thought it'd be interesting just to find out what happened to our 3 poor old investigators that got taken out by the cultists. So let's have a quick roll on the recovery tables to see actually whether they've survived or not. My dice roll are all going to die. So let's try Vince first of all. We're going to roll for him. We're going to get 4. He gets a temporary injury. Only during the next scenario we'll have -1 strength and -1 dexterity. So that's Vince. We'll go to Everett, see what happens to him. He gets an 8. He needs to recover. The next scenario this character will not be able to play. He will have to wait another scenario to return fully recovered. Okay, that's fair enough. And then finally we've got Grace, and we're going to get a 6, which is a permanent consequence. So D6 roll. Let's have a look. She's going to get a 1. She's -1 to her dexterity. -1 to her dexterity permanently. Well, at least they all managed to survive, rather than my usual dice rolling of a 9 or a 10. So the 3 of them have survived. There's definitely, so he's not going to be able to play in the next scenario. -1 dex to her, and he's got a temporary injury for the next scenario of -1 strength and -1 dexterity if needed. Okay, that's good. I'll grab the campaign book and then find out where we're going from here. Okay, here we are at the campaign book. It says when the scene ends. Once the scene is over, we'll return to the numbered entries. If they survive and they've managed to save Henry and avoid the summoning of the new moon, go to 34. I'm going to, yep, that's what they did. They did manage to save him, and we managed to do it before turn 4 or turn 5. So we'll go to page numbered entry 34. 34. After cutting the ropes, Henry runs, helped by the investigator. Without stopping running and falling several times as he stumbles in the darkness of the forest, Henry keeps thanking repeatedly and unconsciously, probably affected by the experience he's just undergone. Another of the investigators, with the summoning papers in hand, manages to perform the ritual that closes the door and expels, at least momentarily, the new moon from our world, despite his sanity. As the being recedes further and further into the darkness of the night, the stars reappear and the crescent moon faintly illuminates the scene. The sound of violins become more and more distant, and the wind dies down and silence returns to the forest. Crossing the forest in pitch darkness, they reach the Red House, where they start Vince's brother's car to flee far from the village. The memory of what they've just suffered makes them tremble with fear. They have survived certain death, but now they must learn to live with the memory of the horror they have suffered. Each surviving character gets 4 experience points, although the character who freed Henry Towers and the character who made the ritual to prevent the summoning of the new moon, with each gets an extra experience point. These experience points can be spent on improving the characteristics or even gaining new abilities. There we go. And I think there's a bit at the end here. I'll read it. It says what really happened. Several years ago, there was a small sect called the Sons of the New Moon that revolved around a half-god, half-demon entity they believed held unfathomable secrets about our existence. Crazed and arrogant, they believed they could summon this being to grant them arcane knowledge beyond the human. But he who plays with fire often burns until he is completely consumed. 5 years ago, during one of the summoning rituals, the new moon appeared, devouring many of its worshippers, and those who managed to escape were so mentally deranged they had to be locked in asylums, which is a euphemism for prisons where the insane were locked so they didn't disturb society. But not all of them were locked or disappeared. A few went to a small town in the mountains to settle down and refound the sect from the ashes. The small town of Bridgeport was chosen, and in a short time they dominated most of the small towns, swelling the ranks of their followers and controlling everything that happened there. In order to obtain victims to sacrifice to their god, the cult members would pick off poor, unwary travellers who stopped by the town or stayed overnight. Their cars and belongings were stored in the Red House, and they remained locked down in the basement of the church until they were sacrificed to the new moon. The sect grew stronger and stronger in the shadows, the world remaining oblivious to what was happening in this small village, hidden within the deep forests of the north. And this cult would have remained completely hidden had it not been for a young writer, Henry Towers, who began researching the structure of cults for a horror novel. And when he came across the story of the Sons of the New Moon, he decided that it could be a seed for a new novel. Henry investigated and delved deeper into this cult, discovering that they had not disappeared, but had established themselves in the small town of Bridgeport. When Henry got too close to the cult and its activities, he was kidnapped by the Sons of the New Moon with the intention of keeping the group in the shadows, as well as offering him as a sacrifice to their god as punishment for him. This group of cultists tried their best to erase the trail leading to them by searching and destroying possible clues in Henry Towers' flat and attempting to kill Professor Ian Stern. To make matters worse, they had kidnapped a young man who intended to spend the night in the town, but his brother Vince had tracked him to the town of Bridgeport, located the Red House, and helped the characters. When the investigators show up in town, the Sons of the New Moon know things are getting complicated and try to kill them by any means necessary. The investigators have a heavy burden on their shoulders. It is in their hands to take down the Sons of the New Moon and stop that damn sound of out-of-tune violins playing that is beginning to sound in the distance. And there we go. That is the Sons of the New Moon campaign completed. I have to say, a really fun campaign to play with lots of replayability. I will revisit it on the channel at some point in the future, just to see if I can take things down a different step, maybe choose some different investigators. But we managed to do it in the end. We had some really poor luck during the course of the campaign, but Rowena came through, a very sprightly older lady who could run in, ignoring everything else, undoing Henry and then legging it off the board, whilst her heroic investigators, Grace, Everett and Vince, tied up the investigators, made a nuisance of themselves, which give her that opportunity to run off the board. But I hope you've enjoyed these episodes and this set of videos. Would have really appreciate it if you could like and subscribe to the channel. We're heading towards 100 people now on the subscribers, so it'd be good to hit the 100 mark. Also, we do have a Discord channel, which there's a lot of people joining now, which I do post up sort of work in productions and what I'm kind of thinking about doing next, and some bit of chatter on there about miniatures and painting and all sorts of stuff. So please head over and join the Discord channel. But thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this as much as I've enjoyed playing it, and I will see you on the next one. Thanks a lot. Bye.